Okay, so we're going to be talking about dimensional analysis, which we learned is converting from one unit to another unit. We have to use these things called conversion factors, which is basically things are equal to each other. So you have your starting quantity, and what a lot of, what you learn in math, well, I don't know if you learn that in math or not, but it's your given, right? It's whatever they give you in the problem, okay? So that's your starting quantity. Units you want, and then units you started with, okay? These things here are called conversion factors, because these are equal to each other, okay? 12 inches in a foot is the simple example I'm going to start out with, okay? So these can only be equal to one another. If you put, there are 60 seconds, and then you put centimeters on bottom, they are not equal to each other, so it won't work. So whatever you put in these conversion factors, they have to be equal to each other. It's very important, okay? These must be equal, like 2.54 centimeters in an inch, right? So here's this very simple example. And you guys don't even need to use the dimensional analysis process to do this problem. I understand that. Okay? Convert 72 inches to feet. So, first thing you do is you write down your starting quantity. You're given 72 inches. Then I like to make this, this box here. Okay? This is where your conversion factor is going to go. So I want inches on bottom because I want these two units to cancel. Now this is also important. If the same unit's on the top and the same unit's on the bottom, no matter where at and how many steps it is, they're going to cancel. They don't have to be right next to each other. All right? So what I like to do, this is what I do, is I put in the units first and then I put in the numbers. Why? My working memory is not the greatest. I'll tend to make mistakes. So I write down the units first. I'm like, okay, in 12 inches, okay, 12 inches there is 1 foot. Okay, if you try to do multiple steps, that can tax your working memory. Some of your guys' working memory is better than others. So I would advise you to do whatever you feel best, but this is my hint to you guys. Okay? So notice, I want you to write the slashes through it. This is going to cancel here. Alright? So now I'm left with 1 foot. Okay? So I converted inches to feet. So then I go across. When I go across, what do? Multiply, right? So 72 times 1 is 72. When I go down, I divide, okay? So, 6 feet. 72 divided by 12 is 6 feet. So when I said I was 72 inches tall, that is not true. I am not that tall. So this is a very simple example, guys. Right? Like, I get it, I know, but let's try a harder one, okay? So this one's a little bit easier. But let's try one where it's multiple steps, because that's where people get confused. All right? So, convert 75 miles per hour to feet per second. You guys are going to work some practice problems here. And what I would recommend is to do this. These are some conversion factors. Man, still forgot that. This should be a 1 here, right? There's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. All right? In 1 mile. Because you guys are the mile high city, right? So these are just conversion factors that you'll use in this problem. Okay? I will give you these, right? I will give you these in the problem. A lot of these you already know. Probably most of these you already know, but for simplicity, right? I'll not make you memorize a bunch of conversion factors, because you can look that stuff up. Now this is my hint to you. This is where I'm starting, is right here. This is what I want to go to. I would recommend you do that on your problem, okay, on the paper or on your whiteboard when you're working the problem. Because then you can go back and reference it. You can just go, okay, I'm going from here to here. Okay? Then you won't have to look back up at the problem. All right? So I'm starting here. This is a start, and this is my end. This is where I want to end up. Okay? I want to go from miles per hour to feet per second. So the first thing I do, okay, is I write down my given, 75 miles per hour. Write it like that. Okay? A lot of you guys are going to want to write it like this. Well, Okay, that will probably confuse you if you write it like this in your problem. And I know you probably couldn't even read. So do not, make sure you write it as a fraction, as a proper fraction, okay? Because you'll see why in a second. Some of you guys are already seeing that, okay? So, start with my given. Then I'm going to convert. So, we have to convert the top from miles to feet and the bottom from hours to seconds. Don't try to do them at the same time. Just do one at a time. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to convert miles to feet. So I put miles on bottom. Then I use my conversion factors up here. If you're confused, okay, I have miles here, and I have feet here. So then I just plug in the numbers from the conversion factors. That's the only things that can go in these boxes, are things that are equal to each other. Okay, 1 mile, not miles, 1 mile, that's kind of a typo, but you guys get it. There are 5,280 feet. Okay? I think Mr. Doyle calls this the railroad method, the train track method. Okay, I'll explain why that is in a second. So notice my miles are going to cancel. And guys, it's very important to keep yourself straight here, is to mark these out. Now what are my units? Feet per hour, right? Because look, I don't have a line through the hours, do I? No? So now, I'm here, I want to be on top, okay? Now I want the bottom to go from hours to seconds. So, I do another box. Alright, what some students said that on Friday was they thought it was beneficial to do all the units first. To plug in, to put in all the units until they get where they want to get. It's whatever you want to do. So I want to go from hours now. Can I go to hours to seconds directly?
No.
No, I can't, because if I had the conversion factor up here, I could. Right? Now you can create a new conversion factor if you're, but I just use this right now to keep it simple. Okay, so I know that I have hours, so I'm going to use this one right here. There are 60 minutes and 1 hour. Hours on top, because I want them to cancel. Minutes on bottom, because I want seconds on bottom now. Okay? Notice, no matter where they're at, even though it's way over here, this is on top, this is on bottom, this is going to cancel. So in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. So now my units are in feet per minute, right? Because there's no lines through it. Okay? One more step, right? One more step. Now I got to convert it, so what should go on top? Minutes or seconds? Minutes goes on top, seconds go on bottom. Okay? So notice, in 1 minute, there are 60 seconds. Alright? So, these are going to cancel, and then at the very end, I'm almost done. I know my units are correct, because I have feet on top, I have seconds on bottom, right? And because everything else is crossed out. That's why it's important to cross things out. Otherwise, you could get confused, or you don't know where you're at in the process. So some students found it beneficial on Friday to do all the units first, and then plug in the numbers, and then do the math. It's whatever you want to do. Okay? It's whatever works best for you. Now, how do you solve this? Well, this is why it's called the train track method, or I think it's called the train track method. You go on this track first, and you go left to right. So what do you do if you go left to right here? When you go this way, what happens? Multiply, right? 75 times 5,280 times 1 times 1. Okay, I'll do that for you. Okay? That is this number right here. 396,000 feet. Okay? So I've done the top now. So the top is finished. Okay? So the top is done. Now I have to do the bottom. Right? So on the bottom we have 1 times 60 times 60. Okay? So multiply. So if you have a multi-step problem, okay? If you have a multi-step problem, do the top first, get a number, okay, right here, and I put my units here, right? Because that's the units that go on top. And then I multiply 1 times 60, and that's actually going to equal 3,600 seconds. I'm almost done. Now all I have to do is simplify that fraction. And this nice thing here, guys, is all you have to do is plug in the calculator. Okay? So we're going to go down, we're going to simplify this, we're going to divide. So when I do that, it's going to be 110 feet per second. So think about that next time you're driving on Interstate 25 and you're going 75, 80 miles an hour. If you look down to text, for a second, you've gone 110 feet. Okay? Right? That's kind of scary, right? So just kind of think about that when you're driving. Okay? Or if you're with somebody, you see somebody like texting while they're driving or doing stuff like that, because this is not smart. Okay? All right. Questions on this, right? You're going to practice this momentarily, okay? Some main things. Now, these do not cancel, right? If it was feet over feet, we'd have no units, okay? Because the units would cancel. But we have feet over seconds. So this does not cancel the feet over seconds because they are different units, okay? All right. Now, you don't have to write this next part down. Everybody with me on that? If that hurts your head, if that's too much for you, all right, that's okay. What I would recommend doing is chunking it. Okay, what does it mean by chunking it? Break it into smaller parts. So I'm going to do the same problem. You do not have to write this down. It's the same problem. I'm doing it in chunks. I'm going to go faster through it though. Okay. So basically, I just do one step here, get an answer. Feet per hour, right? Feet per hour. 75 times this divided by 1. Then I go, so if you're having problems with that, just chunk it, okay? So now I do this number times 1 divided by 60, multiply, divide. That's going to give me this number here. I'm not done yet. I got to do another conversion. It is the exact same problem. It'll give you the exact same answer, okay? So when you divide these two numbers, you get this. Then finally, the last step. Obviously, which one's faster? The first method, okay? I know a lot of you guys can probably do problems like this without showing your work. I'm going to require on the quiz for you to show your work because I don't know if you're cheating, how you're getting that number. So I just need to know, okay? I just need to know that. All right? So, I don't think that was too terrible, so we will stop recording that.